What happens when one of Britain's most beloved actresses walks onto a daytime talk show expecting a friendly chat and instead finds herself in the fight of her life? In just 42 seconds, a single comment from host Denise Welch would turn a routine interview into the most shocking moment in Loose Women history and send Brenda Blethyn storming off the set in front of millions of viewers. The studio lights were bright that morning as Brenda Blethyn settled into her seat on the famous Loose Women panel. She had come to talk about her latest project, to share stories with the audience who had loved her for decades. Sitting across from her were Denise Welch, along with panelists Ruth Langsford, Jane Moore, and Nadia Sawalha. The energy in the room felt different from the start. Tense, uncomfortable. Denise leaned forward with that smile she always wore, the one that never quite reached her eyes. "So, Brenda, lovely to have you here. We were just talking before you came on about how some actors, they get to a certain age and they just keep playing the same roles over and over. Do you ever worry about that?" The audience went quiet. Ruth shifted in her seat, glancing sideways at Denise. That was not the question anyone had prepared for. Brenda laughed it off graciously. "Well, I think every role is different if you bring something new to it. I've been very fortunate to play such a variety of characters throughout my career." Right, Denise continued, waving her hand dismissively. "But I mean, let's be honest. You've been playing the same type for years now, haven't you? The frumpy detective, the working class mum. It's all a bit samey, isn't it?" Jane Moore jumped in quickly, trying to redirect. "I think what Brenda brings to Vera is absolutely remarkable. The show wouldn't be what it is without her." "Oh, please," Denise laughed, cutting Jane off mid-sentence. "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. We're all friends here, aren't we? We can be honest." Brenda's smile had frozen on her face. "I'm not sure what you're getting at, Denise." "I'm getting at the fact that some actors know when it's time to step aside and let fresh talent come through. But some people just cling on, don't they? Taking jobs that younger actresses could be doing." The studio had gone completely silent now. You could hear the cameras still rolling, capturing every uncomfortable second. Nadia Sawalha looked horrified, her mouth slightly open in disbelief. Ruth tried again to salvage the situation. "Brenda, your work has inspired generations of actors. Tell us about—" But Denise wasn't finished. "I mean, how old are you now, Brenda? 70-something? And you're still running around playing a detective. Don't you think that's a bit ridiculous?" Brenda sat up straighter, her composure still intact, but you could see the hurt flickering in her eyes. "I think age has nothing to do with whether someone can do their job well." "But it does, though, doesn't it?" Denise pressed on, leaning back in her chair like she owned the place. "There's a reason they don't have 70-year-olds playing action heroes. People want to see someone who's relatable. Someone who looks like they could actually do the job. Not someone's grand stumbling around a crime scene." "Denise!" Ruth's voice was sharp now, a warning. "That's completely out of line." Jane nodded in agreement. "Absolutely out of line. Brenda is a national treasure." Denise rolled her eyes dramatically. "Oh, here we go. National treasure. That's what we call people when they're past their prime, isn't it? Like putting them in a museum." Brenda's hands were clasped tightly in her lap now, her knuckles white. "I'm not sure why you've invited me here today if you feel this way." "I invited you because I think it's time someone had an honest conversation with you," Denise said, her voice dripping with false concern. "Everyone's too scared to tell you the truth. They just keep giving you these roles because they feel sorry for you." Nadia finally found her voice. "That's enough, Denise. This is not okay." "What? I'm just being honest. Isn't that what this show is about? Saying what other people won't say?" Brenda's voice was quiet when she spoke, but there was steel underneath it. "Honesty and cruelty are not the same thing, Denise." "Oh, don't be so sensitive." Denise waved her hand again. "If you can't take a bit of criticism, maybe you shouldn't be in the public eye." "Criticism?" Brenda repeated, her voice rising slightly. "You've done nothing but insult me since I sat down." You've insulted my age, my appearance, my career, and you call that criticism? The audience was starting to murmur now, shifting uncomfortably in their seats. Some people were shaking their heads. Others looked genuinely upset. Ruth tried once more to take control. Let's take a breath here. Brenda, we're so sorry. Don't apologize for me, Denise interrupted. I'm not sorry. Someone needed to say it. The woman looks like she should be at home knitting, not chasing criminals on television. That was it. That was the moment. You could see it in Brenda's face. The exact second she decided she was done. Jane Moore stood up from her seat. Right. That's it. I'm not sitting here while you bully a guest. Bully? Denise laughed, but it sounded hollow now, forced. I'm not bullying anyone. I'm having a conversation. A conversation requires respect, Brenda said quietly, standing up from her chair, and you clearly have none for me or for yourself. Nadia stood up too, moving closer to Brenda. You don't have to stay here and listen to this. Oh, fantastic, Denise said sarcastically. Now we're all going to have a big dramatic moment, are we? All going to pretend like I'm the villain here. You are the villain here, Ruth said firmly, and even she looked shocked that she'd said it out loud. What you've said today is disgraceful. Denise's face was flushing red now, anger mixing with something else. Embarrassment, maybe. The realization that this was not going the way she'd planned. I'm the host of this show. I decide what we talk about. Then maybe you shouldn't be, Jane said quietly. The producer was gesturing frantically from off camera, trying to get someone's attention, trying to salvage what was quickly becoming a complete disaster. Brenda started to remove her microphone, her hands steady despite everything. I've been in this industry for over 50 years. I've worked with some of the most talented, kind, and professional people in the world. And I've also worked with people like you, Denise. People who mistake meanness for honesty. People who think tearing others down makes them interesting. Oh, please, Denise scoffed, but her voice was weaker now. Save the speech. I'm not finished, Brenda said, and there was such quiet authority in her voice that even Denise went silent. You invited me here, today. I came in good faith. I came to talk about my work, to connect with viewers who have been so supportive over the years. Instead, you've used this platform to publicly humiliate me. And for what? For ratings? For attention? You were just being cruel, Brenda cut her off. And the sad thing is, I don't think you even realize it. I think you genuinely believe that what you've done here is acceptable. Ruth was nodding, tears in her eyes. Brenda, I'm so sorry. This should never have happened. It's not your fault, Ruth, Brenda said gently. You tried to stop it. Denise was looking around now, seeing the other panelists standing with Brenda, seeing the audience's faces, seeing the crew members who had stopped what they were doing to watch. You're all being ridiculous. I was just asking questions. You were attacking her, Jane said flatly. There's a difference. Questions about her age, her looks, her relevance, Nadia added. Those aren't questions. They're insults dressed up as conversation. Brenda had finished removing her microphone now. She placed it carefully on the chair, smoothing down her outfit with dignity. I won't be spoken to this way. Not by you. Not by anyone. Fine, Denise said, trying to regain some control. Leave then. Run away. I'm not running, Brenda said calmly. I'm choosing not to participate in whatever this is. There's a difference. The audience started clapping, slowly at first, then building. One person stood, then another, then another. Within seconds, half the studio audience was on their feet, applauding Brenda. Denise's face was crimson now. Sit down. This is my show. But nobody was listening to her anymore. The audience kept clapping. Ruth, Jane, and Nadia moved to stand with Brenda, forming a protective circle around her. Your show, Jane said incredulously. Our show, Denise. and you've just destroyed it." "I've destroyed it." Denise's voice was shrill now. "She's the one. Walking off. Because you gave her no choice," Ruth said firmly. "You humiliated a guest on live television. A guest we invited. A respected actress who has done nothing but contribute to British culture for decades." "Oh, British culture," Denise mocked. "Listen to yourself, Ruth. So high and mighty." "It's not about being high and mighty," Ruth shot back. "It's about basic decency, something you clearly know nothing about." Brenda was moving towards the edge of the set now, the other women walking with her. The cameras were still rolling, capturing every moment of the chaos. "Where do you think you're going?" Denise called after them. "We're still on air." "Then I suggest you figure out what to say," Jane called back over her shoulder. "Because we're done." A producer rushed onto the set, trying to whisper something to Denise, but she pushed him away. "Get off me. I'm handling this." But she wasn't handling anything. The show was falling apart in real time, broadcast too, millions of homes across the country. Nadia turned back one last time. "You know what the worst part is, Denise? You had a chance to apologize. Multiple chances. And instead, you just kept going. You just kept attacking her." "I don't need to apologize," Denise insisted. "I haven't done anything wrong." "That's the problem," Nadia said sadly. "You really believe that." Brenda paused at the edge of the set, looking back one final time. The studio lights caught her face, showing the dignity she'd maintained throughout the entire ordeal. "I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for, Denise. Whatever made you think this was acceptable. Because nobody who's truly happy with themselves treats other people this way." "Oh, spare me the psychology," Denise snapped. "You're just upset because I told the truth." "No," Brenda said softly. "I'm upset because you wasted everyone's time today. Mine, theirs," she gestured to the audience. "And your own. You had an opportunity to have a meaningful conversation, and instead you chose this." "This is meaningful!" Denise shouted. "This is real conversation. Not the fake, polished rubbish we usually do." "Real conversation requires mutual respect," Ruth said, still standing with Brenda. "What you did was just an attack." The producer was back, more frantic now, holding up signs about cutting to commercial. But the damage was done. The moment was already out there, being recorded on phones in the audience, already starting to spread. "I want all of you off my set," Denise said, her voice cold now. "If you're going to walk out on me, then go. All of you." "Gladly," Jane said without hesitation. Ruth looked at the cameras, then at the audience. "I think we all need to take a moment here. What's happened today? This isn't what Loose Women is supposed to be about." "Don't you dare," Denise warned. "Don't you dare make me the villain in this." "You made yourself the villain," Nadia said quietly. "All by yourself." Brenda had reached the studio exit now. She turned one last time, and when she spoke, her voice carried across the entire studio. "I've spent my entire career trying to tell stories that matter. Stories about real people, complex people. People who deserve dignity and respect. I won't compromise that by staying somewhere I'm not valued." "You're valued," Ruth called out. "By all of us. By everyone except her." Denise slammed her hand on the desk. "This is unbelievable. I'm the victim here. I'm being ganged up on." "You're not the victim," Jane said, her voice heavy with disappointment. "The victim is sitting at home right now, watching this, learning that it's okay to tear people down for entertainment. The victim is every older woman who's been made to feel invisible or worthless because of their age. The victim is anyone who's ever been bullied and told it was just honesty." "Bully?" Denise's voice cracked on the word. "I am not a bully." "Then what do you call what you did?" "Today?" Nadia asked. "What do you call attacking someone's age, their appearance, their career? What do you call refusing to stop when asked, refusing to apologize when confronted? I call it honest television, Denise shouted. I call it cruel, Ruth said simply. The audience was still standing, still watching. Some people were filming on their phones. Others were just shaking their heads in disbelief. The atmosphere in the studio had shifted completely. What had started as a normal morning show had transformed into something else entirely, a reckoning. Brenda gave one final nod to the audience, to the women who had stood up for her, and then she walked off the set, her head held high, her dignity intact. Jane, Ruth, and Nadia exchanged glances. Without a word, they removed their microphones too. "What are you doing?" Denise demanded. "You can't just leave." "Watch us," Jane said. "We're supposed to be a team." Denise's voice was desperate now. "We're supposed to support each other." "That's exactly what we're doing," Ruth said. "We're supporting someone who was attacked on our show. Someone we failed to protect." "I'll have you all fired," Denise threatened. "Go ahead," Nadia said calmly. "Some things are more important than a job." They walked off together, leaving Denise alone at the desk. The cameras kept rolling. The producer was yelling something from off camera. The audience didn't know whether to sit down or keep standing. Denise looked around at the empty chairs, at the audience staring at her, at the red lights on the cameras still capturing everything. We're going to take a quick break," she stammered. "We'll be right back." But nobody was coming back. The show was over. The damage was done. In the hallway backstage, Brenda was surrounded by the other women, by production staff apologizing, by makeup artists offering tissues. She waved them all away gently. "I'm fine," she said. "Truly, I've dealt with worse than Denise. Welch, you shouldn't have had to deal with any of it," Ruth said, her voice thick with emotion. "Not here. Not on our show." "It's not your show anymore," Jane said quietly. "Not after today." "What do you mean?" Brenda asked. "We can't go back," Nadia explained. "Not after this. Not after what she did. What she refused to acknowledge." Brenda looked at the three women who had stood up for her, who had walked off their own show in solidarity. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes," Ruth said firmly. "We did." Back in the studio, Denise sat alone at the desk. The commercial break had started, giving her a few minutes to compose herself. But there was no composing this, no fixing it. A senior producer approached her carefully. "Denise, we need to talk about what just happened." "What just happened," Denise said, her voice hollow now, "is that everyone overreacted. I was just trying to have a real conversation." "You attacked a guest," the producer said bluntly. "On live television, and then you attacked your own colleagues when they defended her." "I didn't attack anyone," Denise insisted, but even she didn't sound convinced anymore. "The phones haven't stopped ringing," the producer continued. "Complaints. Lots of them. People are furious." "People always complain," Denise said dismissively. "They'll get over it." "I don't think they will. Not this time." In the green room, Brenda was gathering her things. Her hands weren't shaking. She wasn't crying. She simply looked tired. "Can we get you anything?" an assistant asked. "Water? Tea?" "No, thank you, dear," Brenda said kindly. "I just want to go home." Ruth appeared in the doorway. "Brenda, wait. Before you go, I need you to know something." Brenda turned, waiting. "This doesn't represent us," Ruth said urgently. "What Denise did today, that's not who we are. That's not what this show is supposed to be." "I know," Brenda said gently. "I could see that. All three of you tried to stop it." "We should have tried harder," Jane said, appearing behind Ruth. "We should have shut it down immediately." "You did what you could," Brenda assured them. "Sometimes people are determined to show you who they really are, and we have to let them." "She'll face consequences for this," Nadia said. "She has to." Brenda smiled sadly. "That's not up to me. I just know I won't be returning. Not while she's there." "None of us will," Ruth said firmly, and Jane and Nadia nodded in agreement. "Don't throw away your careers because of this," Brenda said. "Because of me." It's not because of you, Jane explained. It's because we can't work with someone who thinks that behavior is acceptable, who thinks attacking people is entertainment. Back on the set, the commercial break was ending. Denise was alone at the desk, makeup artists having hastily tried to fix her appearance, to hide the signs of stress. The cameras came back on. Denise forced a smile. Welcome back to Loose Women. As you can see, we've had a bit of a situation here today. The audience was silent, hostile, waiting. Sometimes conversations get heated, Denise continued, reading carefully from notes someone had thrust in front of her. And sometimes people don't agree. That's the nature of live television. Someone in the audience shouted, "You were horrible to her!" Denise's composure cracked for just a moment. I was simply asking questions that I felt needed to be asked. By insulting her, another voice called out. Security was moving through the audience now, trying to quiet people down, but the energy had shifted completely. The audience wasn't on Denise's side. They'd seen what happened. They'd witnessed the cruelty. I think we're going to end the show early today, Denise said, abandoning the script. Clearly, this isn't the right environment for a constructive conversation. You made it that way, someone else shouted. The cameras cut. The show was over. For real this time. Denise sat at the desk for a long moment after the cameras stopped rolling, staring at the empty chairs where her colleagues had been sitting, where Brenda had been sitting. The reality of what had happened was starting to sink in. An executive approached the desk. Denise, we need to meet. Now. I know what you're going to say, Denise said wearily. I don't think you do. In the car park, Brenda was getting into a waiting car. The other Loose Women panelists had walked her out, making sure she was okay. Are you sure you're all right? Ruth asked one more time. I'm fine, Brenda reassured her. I've been in this business long enough to know that some people aren't worth your energy. Denise is one of those people. She's not going to get away with this, Jane promised. That's not for me to decide, Brenda said. But I appreciate you all standing up for me. That meant more than you know. It was the least we could do, Nadia said. The absolute least. Brenda climbed into the car, and the women watched as it drove away. Then they looked at each other. What now? Nadia asked. Now, Ruth said. We figure out what we're going to do. Because I meant what I said. I can't work with her after this. None of us can, Jane agreed. Inside the building, Denise was in a meeting room with 3 executives. Their faces were grim. Do you understand the severity of what happened today? One of them asked. I was just doing my job, Denise said defensively. Your job is to interview guests, not attack them. I wasn't attacking. Denise, another executive cut her off. We've already had hundreds of complaints. Social media is exploding. This is a public relations nightmare. People are too sensitive, Denise muttered. No, the first executive said firmly. You crossed a line. Multiple lines. You insulted a respected actress on live television. You refused to stop when your colleagues asked you to. And then you drove away 3 other panelists. They chose to leave, Denise pointed out, because of your behavior, because they couldn't sit there and watch what you were doing. Denise slumped in her chair. So, what happens now? Now, the executive said, we figure out how to fix this mess, and you figure out whether you can actually acknowledge what you did wrong. In homes across the country, people were already talking about what they'd just witnessed. Phones were ringing. Social media was buzzing. The clip was being shared thousands of times, with most comments supporting Brenda and condemning Denise. One viewer wrote, I've watched Loose Women for years, and I've never seen anything like this. Absolutely disgraceful how Brenda was treated. Another posted, thank goodness for Ruth, Jane, and Nadia standing up for her, but it should never have gotten that far. A third commented, Brenda handled that with such grace and dignity. She's a class act. Back in the studio, crew members were packing up equipment, whispering among themselves about what they'd witnessed. I've never seen anything like that, one camera operator said to another. Me neither. And I've worked in television for 20 years. Do you think they'll fire Denise? After that, they'd be crazy not to. In the meeting room, Denise was still trying to defend herself. I was trying to create compelling television. That's what we're supposed to do. Compelling doesn't mean cruel, an executive said. There's a difference between asking tough questions and personally attacking someone. I didn't personally attack. You called her frumpy. You said she looked like someone's gran. You questioned her relevance, her ability to do her job, her right to still be working, all based on her age and appearance. If that's not a personal attack, what is? Denise had no answer. And when your colleagues tried to defend her, you attacked them too. You told them they were being too sensitive. You mocked them for caring. I was just... You were being a bully, the executive said bluntly, and we don't tolerate bullies on this network. Not anymore. Denise looked up sharply. What are you saying? I'm saying we're going to have to make some serious decisions about your future here. Outside the building, photographers had already gathered, having heard about the drama. When Ruth, Jane, and Nadia emerged together, the cameras started flashing. Can you comment on what happened? A reporter called out. Not right now, Ruth said firmly, but kindly. Will you be returning to the show? That remains to be seen, Jane said carefully. Do you support Brenda? Absolutely, Nadia said without hesitation. 100%. They climbed into a waiting car together, away from the cameras and the questions. This is going to be everywhere, Jane said quietly. I know, Ruth replied, but we did the right thing. I know we did, Jane agreed. I just hope Brenda knows we meant it. That we really do support her. She knows, Nadia said. You could see it in her face when we stood up for her. By evening, the story was on every news channel, every entertainment website. The clip had been viewed millions of times. Opinion pieces were already being written. Other celebrities were weighing in, most of them supporting Brenda and criticizing Denise. One famous actor tweeted, Brenda Blethyn is a legend and deserves nothing but respect. What happened today was appalling. A director posted, age discrimination in our industry is real, and this was a perfect example. Good for Brenda for walking away. A fellow actress wrote, I've had the honor of working with Brenda. She's professional, talented, and kind. How dare anyone treat her this way? The support kept pouring in, for Brenda, for Ruth, Jane, and Nadia, but not for Denise. The backlash against her was swift and severe. At home, Brenda had made herself a cup of tea and was sitting in her garden away from the chaos. Her phone kept ringing, but she'd turned it to silent. She needed a moment to process what had happened. She thought about Denise's words, trying to find some kernel of truth in them, but there wasn't any. The woman had simply been cruel for the sake of being cruel, trying to create drama at someone else's expense. Brenda had faced criticism before in her career. Real criticism, constructive feedback that had helped her grow as an actor. But that wasn't what Denise had offered. That had been something else entirely. Something mean-spirited and small. Her phone buzzed with a text from Ruth. Just want to make sure you're okay. We're here if you need us. Brenda smiled and typed back, I'm fine. Thank you for today. It meant everything. Ruth replied immediately. We meant every word. What she did was unforgivable. Another text came through, this time from her agent. Are you okay? I've been fielding calls all afternoon. Everyone wants to know if you're all right. The support has been overwhelming. Brenda replied, I'm fine. I'll call you tomorrow. Just need some quiet tonight. Her agent texted back, take all the time you need. And for what it's worth, you handled that with incredible grace. I'm proud of you. Back at the television studio, the executives were still in discussions, making plans, considering options, weighing consequences. The public response has been clear, one of them said. People are furious with Denise. They're praising Brenda and the others for walking out. What about sponsors? Another asked. 2 have already called. They're concerned about being associated with this kind of content. And the other panelists, Ruth, Jane, and Nadia, they've made it clear they won't work with Denise again. Not after this. So we have to choose. Denise or them. It's not much of a choice. In her own home, Denise was watching the coverage of what had happened, seeing herself through other people's eyes, reading the comments, seeing the support for Brenda and the condemnation of her own actions. Part of her still wanted to believe she'd done nothing wrong, that everyone else was overreacting. But another part, a quieter part, was starting to wonder if maybe she'd gone too far. Her phone rang. Her agent. She let it go to voicemail. She wasn't ready to face the consequences yet. Wasn't ready to admit what she'd done, but she couldn't escape it. The story was everywhere, her face on every screen. Not as a host, not as a personality, but as the villain in someone else's story. The antagonist who had pushed too far. The next morning would bring more meetings, more discussions, more decisions. But that night, in that moment, 5 women sat in 5 different places, thinking about what had happened. Brenda in her garden, grateful for the support, but tired from the ordeal. Ruth, Jane, and Nadia together on a phone call, discussing their next steps, their futures. And Denise, alone with her thoughts and the dawning realization that she had destroyed something that might never be rebuilt. The show would go on. Television always does. But it would never be the same. The moment when Brenda Blethyn stood up and walked away had changed everything. It had shown what happens when someone decides they've had enough. When dignity matters more than a paycheck. When respect becomes non-negotiable. It had taken 42 seconds for Denise's comment to shatter the morning show atmosphere. But the ripples from that moment would continue for much longer. Conversations about ageism in the industry. About how women treat each other. About the line between entertainment and cruelty. Brenda had walked away, but she'd left something behind. A reminder that everyone deserves respect, that experience has value, that grace under pressure is its own kind of strength, and that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply refuse to accept mistreatment. To stand up, remove your microphone, and walk away.